Welcome everyone to another episode of the Camper Report. Today we have a brand new guest. First time on the show. I discovered him a few weeks ago and I was like, okay, this guy's really cool. I want to have him on. Welcome everyone, Payo Time. He's a Rams YouTuber. And I was like, okay, in the division, big rivals. So we have Payo Time here. How are you doing today? Excited to have you on the show. I mean, it's an honor.
Ben, the honor is all mine. Thank you for having me on the show. I'm stoked to talk football with you. Anyone
Yeah.
watching, make sure you pop some questions, comments in the chat, and we're happy to interact with you.
Right. Yeah. Let's get into it. We don't have Rams topics yet, but we'll get into Rams and 49ers. The first thing that I wanted to get into is we had four teams last year in the NFC, and I wanted to discuss which ones best and worst case scenarios for the top teams last year or this year, I guess, that finished like the top finishers last year in the NFC, best and worst case scenarios, starting off with your team, the Rams. So I guess we are talking about the Rams. But what is your best and worst case for the Rams this year? What are some expectations?
I love talking about the Rams, and I see BJ in the chat already asking, "Why are the Rams the best team in the NFL?" BJ's a big subscriber of my channel.
Yeah.
Appreciate you tuning in, BJ. And I'll be honest with you. Best case scenario for the Rams is win the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
Again.
exactly.
We have a journey ahead. We have a lot of big games. We have a lot of when you have that title of defending Super Bowl champion, every team is going to give you their best, right? And I think that the Rams have a shot, which as a fan of your NFL team, that's all you can ask for. At the beginning of the season, when your team has the expectations of winning the Super Bowl, that's a blessing. That is something you don't want to take lightly, because I remember being a Rams fan when it was the expectation was like, oh, can we break 500? Like that's not fun. That's not cool.
Yeah.
So I would say best case scenario is Rams, get back to the Super Bowl and win it again. Worst case scenario, I think the Rams are just like not just on paper. I think they have the core and the proven track record to if you had to bet money on a team making the playoffs, I think the Rams are one of the most probable teams to make the playoffs this year. So I would say worst case scenario is first round exit.
Yeah. Definitely Super Bowl or bust team. I mean, I think the only reason why they don't make it far is maybe Matthew Stafford. We had that arm issue. I don't know if that's an issue anymore, but injuries for them are going to be big. Matthew Stafford, and their running backs produce at the level that they need them to? And honestly, I think as long as you guys have Sean McVay, Matthew Stafford, you got Allen Robinson, which I'm a huge fan of him. I just want to say, yeah, he is I think Matthew Stafford's going to make him better. I think the system's going to really benefit him. Again, that O-line, that's the only concern that I have is you guys lost Logan Bruss. That's the only thing is your guys' ability to replace Andrew Whitworth. And that's the only concern. And what are your thoughts on that? O-line wise, what are your thoughts? And yeah.
So I'll just say this: Logan Bruss, it definitely sucks that we lost him for the season. He was competing to be the starting guard, but I actually think that he wasn't actually winning that battle. It was Coleman Shelton who will be our starting right guard most likely. So I'm not overly worried about that. And in regards to replacing Andrew Whitworth, I love that Andrew Whitworth got to retire after winning the Super Bowl, winning Walter Payton Man of the Year. That's a phenomenal historical career, one of the greatest left tackles in NFL history. And I love that he's still involved with the Rams to this day. And when you have a player retire like that, and you ask oh, you can't just replace Andrew Whitworth. And you're right, you can't. However, I think what the Rams are doing have the best possible chance of replacing him in the sense of it's going to be Joseph Noteboom, who he's been with the team since 2018. He was a third-round draft pick for us. He's started for Whitworth whenever Big Whit had to miss time because of injury. So this isn't like some rookie that we drafted and we're hoping for.
Right.
He's been in the Rams organization for this is gonna be like his fourth year now. And so I'm confident that Joseph Noteboom is the right person to have this opportunity to be a starting left tackle in the NFL.
Right.
And I would much rather we have Joseph Noteboom, who's been with us for all these years, than, like getting a first round pick or something.
Yeah. That's a good point. And I guess Matthew Stafford, like, what is his is there I wanted to ask you this, but is there any news on that elbow injury that he had? What's the deal with that?
Yeah, it definitely is a story that got blown way out of proportion as things do in the NFL. I think he got a minor procedure done in the springtime. The Rams knew about it all along. And I don't know if it was just supposed to like ease his pain. And he's a player who's played through a lot of pain before.
Yeah.
I don't know if the procedure worked all the way they wanted it to, but it's definitely something to be monitoring. We knew he wasn't going to play in the preseason, so there's no shock there. And then in practice, he's still been ripping it. He's been slinging it all over the field. I saw videos of him slinging it to Cooper Kupp today. Against the Bengals in practice, and I'm loving it. And shout out Tribe and Celts Chronicles and Silly Fun Guy.
The Rams were. I've done a few shout out Celts Chronicles. Very great guy. Go subscribe to his channel. Go check it out. The Rams were the best team new season. Every team is equal. All signs do point to the 49ers being really good with longevity. Yeah, I mean, I will say we'll get into some of the position groups later. I will say that 49ers definitely have a little bit of depth at certain places where the Rams do not. But if you look at the receiving position, Rams, I think, have more depth there. Quarterback, I think right now they have a way more proven and a way more natural quarterback. And they have a more winning coach, which I don't know how much stock you put into that, but that is a little bit of something. So they have a coach who can perform. You showed that. And I think for the Rams, it's going to be really hard for them to fail this year.
Absolutely. I'll just say this, that I have a lot of respect for Kyle Shanahan as a coach. And I think that in his down years, obviously a lot has to do with injuries and inconsistent quarterback play. But in his up years, he's done really well for the Niners. And I know that Niners fans can be quick to turn on him at times, as we kind of saw at the beginning of last year, but he was able to turn it around and ultimately make the NFC Championship game. But my question mark with the 49ers, obviously there's the Trey Lance mystery, which is still mystery. He's not a bust. He's not the next, generational talent until we actually see him play, right? So we don't know. Anyway, sorry, that's a tangent.
Yeah. I mean, do you want to move on to the worst and best case scenario for the 49ers, I guess, now?
Why not?
Yeah. I mean, now that we're talking about
we're talking about it.
So I mean, I guess I'll start with this. I think best case scenario, the offensive line works out, which that's a huge if, because I mean, I'm still have a lot of questions about Mike McGlinchey. He's rusty. And, we always say like, okay, the Rams have question marks at offensive line. They might not have, that's a place that they don't have as much depth, whatever. But the 49ers don't have they have a good left tackle, but other than that, it's pretty lost. Our center position, Jake Brendel, never heard of him until this year. So I don't really know. The offensive line is a huge question mark for this team as well. They obviously got a fourth round offensive lineman, Spencer Burford, who has looked good. But I mean, that offensive line has to improve. Another thing is safety. That's been a huge thing for us, is we have good safeties, Jimmy Ward, whatever, but the injuries on that secondary, Jimmy Ward might even miss week 1. And then the depth behind him, we have George Odom. He's okay. But Jimmy Ward is an integral part to the 49ers, what they want to do on defense. So that's a huge thing, is injuries along that secondary. Charvarius Ward, who you know him from the Chiefs, he was always pretty good. So he's also injured as well. So it's going to be important that we get those guys back. But last year, D'Amico Ryans found a way to figure it out. We had I believe earlier on, we had Kirkpatrick and Josh Norman as our two cornerbacks, and those two guys are terrible. So I'm not so much worried about that. The offensive side of the ball, what I want to see with the 49ers is, last year we started off really slow. We started off first, I think it was like 9 weeks. We started off super slow. It was not great. And offensively, I want to see us start off a little bit faster earlier on during the year. Instead, I mean, earlier on, first half of the season, we were really sluggish. So that's what I want to see. I think losing the Super Bowl is probably a fair expectation with a rookie quarterback. I think making a deep playoff run, I think, for this team is a success. And then worst case scenario, probably missing the playoffs and having a 7-10, 8-9 season. The offensive line doesn't work out. Jimmy Ward continuously gets hurt. And Trey Lance, I mean, he has a mediocre season, but he gets completely demolished behind that offensive line, and it's terrible, which I find hard to believe, since we do have Trent Williams at the left tackle. So that's my best and worst case scenarios. What are yours for your rivals?
Yeah, I would agree with you, because the 49ers really are a talented roster top to bottom, with I would say they're talented top to bottom with some solid question marks. And I see Silly Fun Guy already alluding to those questions.
Yeah.
And if those questions get answered and they get an A+ on them, this is a dangerous team. This is a team that is going to win some games. But if they get that C to B- grade or lower, there's going to be some I'm always cautious using this word, because I do think it's a word that gets overused a lot. But the 49ers are under some pressure this offseason.
Yes, they are. Absolutely.
They've had the weird scenario with Deebo Samuel and his contract negotiation. Yeah. There's been the Jimmy G situation that has just been awkward.
Yeah.
And then here's the thing with Trey Lance. You traded a lot to get him, and now he's your starting quarterback. Great. Okay. That this guy, and he has a great coach, an offensive-minded coach. He has a great run game. He has receivers in Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk. He has George Kittle. So there's kind of no excuses that if he doesn't perform at a high level, because you traded up all that draft capital to get him. So I think it's fair to say the 49ers are under pressure because of the team that they've built, because of the trade that they made for Trey. And now it's time to answer some of these questions.
Yeah. Again, with both the 49ers and Rams, with their schedule, I mean, it's pretty hard. Both teams have a hard schedule. Rams even more. But can Trey Lance be equipped to handle teams that that are experienced? Teams like let's see here. Buccaneers have a good defense. That's a good team. We have Saints, Chiefs. That's going to be tough. Chargers, Broncos. So yeah, it's really tough. I don't think the defense should be a concern, just because we have a really good defensive coordinator, an amazing defensive line. It's just, can we figure it out on that secondary if injuries do go down? Because safety is a low depth position, which is funny, because coming in, we let go of Jaquelski Tart, but coming into the training camp, I didn't really think it was a huge need. But now that we've had a few injuries, now the depth is starting to run a little bit thin, and it's like, oh, okay, well, I guess it is. So yeah, that's something interesting to look at for sure. Let's get into a little bit of comments here. It's easier for the Rams to make up for our question marks when the 49ers IMO. What is that?
In my opinion.
Oh, in my opinion. Yes. Sorry. My bad. Hopefully this turns into the next great rivalry in sports. Can't wait for October 3rd. Stay up, y'all. Yes.
And, honestly, the Rams 49ers rivalry, it is a historic rivalry. It's been going on for a long time. it's one of those weird rivalries where like there's seasons where like the Rams are really good and the Niners aren't that good, or the Niners are really good and the Rams aren't that good. There hasn't been a ton of time until like recently where both the Rams and the Niners are kind of the class of the NFC right now.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. Good point. And then silly fun guy, it should be a rivalry at least until McVay or Shanahan move on. Yeah, I don't see those guys going anywhere anytime soon. Shanahan has an extension. McVay, yeah. So yeah, it should be a while then, at least a decade or so. I would hope so. Let's move on though to the Bucks and the let's move on to the Bucks. Yeah, as their the Bucks. Let's move on. Bucks, best and worst case scenario for them. They obviously getting Tom Brady back, went into retirement for 40 days and then came back out. So funny there. There's definitely some question marks that have come up within the last month. What are your best and worst case scenario for them?
I'll just quickly say I am glad that Tom Brady didn't retire so that 5 years from now, when Andrew Whitworth goes into the Hall of Fame, he doesn't have to be overshadowed by Tom Brady. He'll be the biggest star because he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. And so that's my silver lining to Tom Brady on retiring. But as for best and worst case scenario, I think best case, obviously, they're another team with Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Like when you have Tom Brady on your team, that's your goal, win the Super Bowl, right? I do think their worst case scenario, though, is starting to happen.
Right. Yeah.
They lost their center. They lost a guard. Sure, they have Julio Jones, but can you trust him to stay healthy the whole season? No. They have weapons that can wreck a game, take over a game. Godwin coming back off injury. There's some question marks there, but I think he's still a great player. And then like Mike Evans, he's someone that can take over a game for you.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I am expecting regression from the Bucks this year. I don't expect. I expect them to win their division, just because I don't trust. I definitely don't trust the Panthers or the Falcons to fight for that division. The Saints, they're a little more of a wild card just because of that quarterback situation, but that defense can win you games with the Saints.
Right. Right. That's true.
But I still would say that all three of those teams are chasing the Bucks. So I would say worst case for them is getting surprised by the Saints and losing the division, which it would be a shock if they missed the playoffs. But I think that is in the cards for them, worst case scenario.
Yeah, I think you're right there. Winning the Super Bowl, their receiving core though is deep as ever. Once Chris Godwin comes back, you have Scotty Miller, Chris Godwin, Julio Jones, Russell Gage, Mike Evans, and then there was one other guy. I can't remember his name at the time, but he's also there's one other receiver. So they have like 6 or 7 receivers on that roster that are really good. I just named 5 that all Russell Gage is solid for the Falcons.
Yeah.
So I mean, they have a very deep. The thing is like their offensive line. What is going on with that? I don't even know. Like they lost Stinney, and then they also lost Ryan Jensen, and that's key because Stinney's lost for the year. Ryan Jensen's out. It's tough, and that offensive line. Every great Tom Brady team has had a really good offensive line. Like, and he's at the point in his career where he cannot be behind a bad offensive line, in my opinion. You still have really good weapons, like you said, Leonard Fournette, D-line. You have Vita Vea, Shaq Barrett, Devin White as linebacker. You have a very good secondary, but there is that concern on the offensive line, and they've built depth at other positions, but that offensive line is like the one thing that they expected to be good this year, but now with Ryan Jensen going out with an injury, will be out for whatever, I think 6 games of the season or whatever, that could derail a team season.
And Brady isn't someone that likes pressure, up the middle, right? And are you gonna bootleg Brady to the right like all game?
No.
That's essentially what you're gonna try and do, right? If you have defensive tackles that are gonna dominate your interior linemen, you have to move your pocket, so to speak.
Right.
So yeah, it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, and I'm looking up their schedule right now, the first like 6 weeks or so. Cowboys, Saints, Packers, Chiefs, Falcons, Steelers, Panthers, Ravens, and then Rams. That's like the first 8 weeks. But you have a couple of really notable teams there. I mean, Cowboys are okay. Saints have a good defense. They'll be able to get after Tom Brady. Packers have a good defense. Chiefs are really good. Steelers are really good. And then Ravens and Rams towards the middle of the season are also really good. So that's going to be tough. It's going to be tough for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a few more comments coming in. Is there a position each of you want to be addressed by free agency for your team? Do you want to get into that now or later? Because I think we have some things for that. We can get into it now, I guess.
Yeah. I know for me, I like what the Rams have done in free agency, getting Robinson and Wagner. There's still Odell Beckham Jr., which we are going to talk about later. So I would hint at that.
Yeah.
But I was talking about this earlier this week on another stream. Maybe running back depth. If there was a solid veteran running back, because we got Sony Michel last year who played well with us, but he unfortunately we had to let him walk.
Yeah.
And so I don't know, just because we are kind of banged up at that position right now. So I wouldn't mind seeing a veteran running back.
Yeah, even though our offensive line is really weak, you look on that market for free agents, it's not very many good offensive linemen anymore. I mean, Fisher is still out there, but in my I was really like, why don't we get Fisher? But he's old, he has injury concerns of himself, and even if he were to replace somebody like Mike McGlinchey, this run game, this offense, you have to be a really good run blocker for it. You have to learn the offense of Shanahan. And I just don't know if you came in right now, if you'd be able to be a right away starter in this offense. So I don't know offense. I would like us to get an offensive lineman. I definitely want the 49ers to go and look at a center because that is scary to me. And JC Treader, I've heard a lot of names floated out about that. I'm not really sure about him. He has injury. He's old and injured as well. But some type of safety. I would love to see us go get a safety. Whichever, but there's not too many people on the market right now. So, and honestly, I want to, if Odell Beckham's willing to play as like the third best receiver on this team, absolutely go and get him. Absolutely go and get him. So we have Tom Brady is essentially the head coach of the Bucs. Todd Bowles is still the DC. Let's see. Hold on. This season is a must win for Brady to finally put the X system, I think he meant, in QB talk.
System QB.
No, X system QB talk. Yeah. Sorry, meant to, system. And then Tom Brady can't make up for a bad O-line pretty well with this, with his quick throws. I think he still gets
quickest release that we've ever seen.
Yeah. Tom Brady is essentially the head coach of the Bucs. The season is a must win to put the rest of the, Oh, he already did that one. What's up, Ben and Payo? Love what you do with the NFC West Network. Yeah. That's go shout out to Payo. While we're on this right now, can you tell us a little bit about your charity stream that you are doing?
Thank you. Yeah. So anyone who's watching my channel, I've been pumping it up. September 8th. I'm going to be doing an 8-hour charity stream. We're going to be talking football all day. It's the first day of the season. I'm very blessed to have an employer that let me take it off work for this. And we are going to be raising money towards food insecurity around the world. So talking football for food. There's a lot of food shortages around the world. And, we're going to try and put a little dent in that. And I've partnered with a charity called World Renew. Who is a smaller charity, but they're doing good, big work around the world. And so I'm pumped I have some fun guests lined up that are going to come on in. Nice. And actually, I am going to be, if we raise $1,000, I'm going to be giving away a box of Reese Big Cups. And nice. It's an inside joke on my channel that whenever Cooper Kupp scores a touchdown, I eat a Reese's Pieces butter cup. And so in celebration of that, if we raise $1,000, I'm going to be giving this away. This is a 25 pack of Reese cups. So.
Nice. Yeah, I'm gonna definitely for sure look into that, and so should you. So, if you feel obligated, go and donate, because huge cause, and that is great. What he is doing over there. So,
Thank you.
Let's get to the next one, though. The last one that we have on our best and worst case scenarios. Packers. What are your expectation for them? Best and worst case scenarios for them.
So I am someone that is a believer that the Packers are due for some regression.
Yes, absolutely.
Now, because they've won 13 games the past 2 seasons. Now, is that regression in a way of like missing the playoffs? I don't think so. I don't believe in the Lions so much that they're ready to compete for the division. I believe the Vikings are ready to compete for the division. I think a new coaching staff, they have so much talent on that roster. I could see them. I actually think from a talent roster perspective, I think the Vikings have a more talented roster right now than the Packers do.
I would agree.
Now, that being said, Aaron Rodgers can make up for a lot of lost talent, which can be the difference for the Packers. But I'm not a believer in necessarily that the Bears are ready to make any kind of noise. They don't have. It's not like they can be much worse than last year.
Terrible offensive line.
Yeah, so we'll see how the Bears do. I know the Niners are playing the Bears week 1, so I'm actually looking forward to seeing that game, just to see how the Niners look, but also see how the Bears look with their new coaching staff. And anyway, back to the Packers. I think best case scenario for them, honestly, I think is winning their division. I don't see them having a team to make a deep playoff run and winning the Super Bowl. I think worst case scenario for them, they get shocked by the Vikings dethroning them and winning the NFC North.
Yeah, they're definitely they have a good defense, really good, but that I actually have them in their front runner, as a front runner to bring in Odell Beckham. And again, I think that's a top team. We'll get into that later, but I think Odell Beckham, that's a top team to bring him in. And I think they have a really good defense. They drafted Quay Walker. They have Douglas, Alexander, Jair Alexander. They have Rasul Douglas on the corner. But I mean, they're an interesting team, because Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, really good, but receiving, that's why I think they need Odell, because receiving wise, that's not. Now, obviously they could lean. I think this is the year that they definitely lean on that running back core, but I look at their coach, and I think their coach definitely built his system a lot. And you would agree with me here. I think you would agree with me here. They built that offense a lot around Davante Adams.
Yeah.
And I don't know what this coach is without Davante Adams, basically. And he's been known to choke in the playoffs with Davante Adams. I just don't know how much he can really, I don't know if he's a genius to where Kyle Shanahan can use and Sean McVay can scheme up all these different run packages and really can make it work and run the ball a million times. I don't know if LaFleur can do that with his running backs, because his running backs have always been featured second. So I don't know if they'll be very successful at switching to a more run-heavy offense, if you know what I'm saying. So that's going to be a huge thing for this season. I think the offense is going to be a huge question mark. I think best case scenario, there may be an NFC Championship game team, or maybe NFC divisional round. But I think this is the year where the Vikings overtake them in the division with Dalvin Cook. Justin Jefferson, man, is an absolute beast. That guy is crazy. Crazy. So I would say Packers, worst case scenario, are like a 7-10 team. I really could see them having a struggling season. And yeah, best case scenario, maybe barely making the playoffs. I think maybe winning the division and getting like a 4 seed or something. So my expectations are low for them.
Yeah,
for sure. Let's see here. Payo Time. They said you trimmed your beard, so save the
I'll
date.
quickly address that. I just last week I had my beard extremely bushy, but long story short, over the weekend I was on a hike and some bees got stuck in my beard. It was terrifying.
God.
It was the most terrifying 2 seconds of my life. And I heard them, and then so I brushed them out, and then I was like, you know what? It's a good time for a trim.
Interesting. That's funny. Payo Time is 0% swearing, 0%. Okay. Okay. Yep, I see you. I hope that Payo grows his beard long enough to braid it someday. Okay. And then question to Payo, whose house is
Rams.
it's a yeah. OBJ won't go to Green Bay. He had to opportunity last year, but Tinseltown caught his eye. Yeah, maybe.
So could we move on to the OBJ topic here?
Yeah. Sure. We can totally do that.
So
Let's see here.
Some kind of interesting things actually happened with this today.
Yeah.
So there's this big thing that Matthew Stafford recently got Instagram. He'd never had it until like last month. Yeah. And so Kelly Stafford, Matthew Stafford's wife, like posted a photo and like tagged Odell in it, asking him to like come home or something. And then Odell said like, you know what I'm waiting for, but like can't wait. And he alluded to like
right.
Like Stafford and the Rams gotta lock it down until I'm ready to play. Like, I don't know. There's been a lot of cryptic stuff with Odell. I don't think Odell would go to Green Bay for this sole reason. He cares way too much about his brand. Odell's brand explodes in LA.
Right.
I don't see him wanting to go to a small market team like Green Bay. Even though Green Bay, like great loyal fan base, he would be a legend there, no doubt. I just think that he's a big fan of, having the Los Angeles hype that can come with his brand of OBJ.
Okay.
And so I think that's appealing to him. I also do have a fan theory. And again, I always have to preface this of this is not an insider secret. I don't have connections like that or anything.
No.
This is totally my theory. I think he's already got a handshake agreement in place with the Rams. Because he's still recovering from the ACL he sustained in the Super Bowl, he couldn't really suit up, right? Like for any team right now, he's still recovering. He won't be able to play until at earliest October, likely November.
Oh, wow.
And so I don't see him signing with the Rams or any team until he's clear to play, or at least on a path from his recovery that, he's right there. And so I think that Odell, by him not signing now, is actually doing a favor to the Rams organization, just because they don't need to have him in camp or anything like that, which he wouldn't be able to anyway. So my theory is he's come back to the Rams. It'll be a mid-season signing, and the Rams PR team will have a field day and make it this big, like, heroic return. And that's my theory.
Interesting. Yeah, that could be right. I think if you're him at this point of your career, and again, he would be third or fourth on that depth chart, right? Because you have Van Jefferson, so probably fourth or third.
I think it'd be an interchangeable third.
Yeah. I think at this point in your career with that injury that he had, I think you have to come to terms that you're not going to be the top receiver anymore. So I don't really, I think they are still the likely destination. I just wanted to throw out the Packers there because the Packers have not very many receivers on that team. And it's like, okay, if you wanted to maybe open up that pass game a little bit, then yeah, you throw OBJ into the Packers mix. Are there any other teams though that you see him going to that maybe are a threat with the Rams re-signing him?
I know he's really good friends with Von Miller, and I've seen Von
Bucks,
Josh Allen like trying to recruit him on Twitter. So there's that with the Bills. But I don't know. They'd probably be my only like big concern. I'm still quite confident he's going to be back with the Rams.
Yeah. Yeah. Bucks. I'm just saying, they sign all these every year, these veterans. They've gotten Julio Jones. If you're Tom Brady, you're like, I don't care if Julio Jones. I'm just kidding. They have 6 receivers that are all. Yeah, that would be interesting though if they did sign him
That
for
would be an
sure.
interesting place. I don't see.
No.
I don't see any room on that depth chart.
They just signed Julio Jones. You go sign Odell Beckham. That would be, man, that would be amazing. Let's see here. Is the Camper Report a new content creator for the 49ers? Yeah, I am. I basically do a lot of mostly content for the 49ers, have a lot of 49ers guests. I don't know, John Chapman, Grant Cohn. Well, I've had Grant Cohn before, not recently though, but John Chapman, Rob Shue. So the 49er content creator, yeah, I'm in that community kind of thing. And yeah, if you want the other side of the spectrum, then like in the NFC, if you want to see what your rivals, if you're like what your rivals are thinking, then yes, I am a 49ers content creator. So let's get to the next one though. Comparing position groups between the Rams and the Niners. First we've got receivers. Who do you think has a better receiving group than the Rams or the 49ers?
I'm going to say the Rams, but both teams have a great wide receiving group.
Yeah.
I do think the Rams with Cooper Kupp, Allen Robinson, Van Jefferson in the mix. And then like, I find it funny, like right now we have this undrafted rookie receiver, Lance McCutcheon, who currently leads the NFL in receiving yards in the preseason. And we're like debating if he's like the 6th or 5th or like 7th wide receiver on our team. Because, we still got guys like Tutu Atwell, who got injured last year, but has potential. He's a big speedy guy. Or a small speedy guy, I should say, shifty speedy guy.
Yeah.
And then we got Ben Saronic, who's probably the most criticized player on the Rams outside of Taylor Rapp. And he's made some plays before. I am someone who will stand up for Ben, that he has made some plays, but at the same time, I will say he's missed some plays as well.
That dropped, I believe it was week 18, the drop touchdown for the 49ers. He was wide open, or was that the NFC Championship game?
There was in the NFC Championship.
Yeah, okay.
There's been a couple of other big drops and big moments.
Yeah.
But the same token, like there's a 4th down conversion against the Ravens that if he doesn't make that play, we lose that game. So anyway, that's Ben Saronic and the Rams wide receiving core. But the fact is, we're arguing over like our 5th and 6th wide receivers, where a lot of teams would be like, hey, like I would love Ben Saronic on my team.
Right. That's a good point. I think 49ers, they have I think I would agree with you there. I think the Rams, and even though I am a 49ers fan, there is no getting away. I think Allen Robinson, like I said earlier, with that system, with Sean McVay, with Matthew Stafford, a top quarterback, he's gonna be really good. We've seen what he can do with a really good quarterback, and I just don't think, like with the Bears, he's been with the Bears for a while. He hasn't had a consistently good quarterback. I think he's gonna be really good.
And people forget Allen Robinson's only 28 years old.
Yeah.
Right? Like, and he's been in the league a while, since he was like 21, but like he's still got lots of. Like, he's in the prime of his career still.
Honestly, I mean, I think that $3 million, I believe it's 15 mil per year, right? Is it
something like that? I have to look it up.
Yeah, I think that was a good value for him. I personally think that, that's a really good. You're paying him. I think that's a really good, like, 2nd wide receiver money, or a little bit more than that, and that's really good. And then you've got Cooper Kupp, I think Debo and Cooper Kupp, you could debate. They're 2 different styles. I think for different offenses, Debo is better. For different offenses, Cooper Kupp is better. But then again, I would actually take Cooper Kupp over Debo, because Debo has more injury concerns, and you definitely has had more of those problems in the past. I would say, your team is deeper. I think Danny Gray is still unproven. Like, he was our 3rd round pick. He's done good. He's shown some flashes in preseason games and whatever. But you have Debo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, whatever. And then I think Van Jefferson's a way better, like, proven commodity than Jawan Jennings, even though he's been solid. So yeah, I think this is the one position group where the Rams have a lot more depth than the 49ers do. For sure.
But I would even say that's just, it's the reasoning being is the Rams have just prioritized it in a different way when constructing their roster. Where there's an interview with Les Snead from 2 years ago where he talked about something I've never heard anyone talk about. It was amazing. He talked about the talent discrepancy between modern day NFL cornerbacks and modern day NFL wide receivers.
Yeah.
And like when you look at it, there's not too many teams that you would say have a dominant, cornerbacks or secondary, right?
Yeah.
Then when you start debating how many teams have a loaded, stacked wide receiving core, there's a lot more.
Yeah.
And so I think the Rams just have prioritized the receiver position. And even Sean McVay, just a couple of weeks ago, he was asked how many wide receivers could he see keeping on the 53-man roster. And he said, I'm not ready to put a limit on it yet.
Yeah.
And it's silly fun guy already. This is fun debate within the Ramley.
Tutu, I think, I mean, I talked, do you know who Jake Ellenbogen is?
Yeah, he's awesome.
another. I've had a show with him before. He says Tutu's really good, just hasn't proven a lot. And that's another thing. Like, Tutu, we have Ray McLeod, but Tutu Atwell is arguably better. So, I tend to agree there. For sure. And then, Cooper Kupp, that is Payo's guy, his main dude. Eat the Reese's. Yes.
You know it.
Yeah. So let's move on though. Running backs. I think before, like you said, with certain teams are built for certain things. I think the 49ers, the Rams definitely prioritize the receiving a lot more, I think, than running backs. 49ers are the opposite. So running backs here, who has the better core?
I'm definitely willing to give the edge to the Niners here. I still think the Rams do have a solid running back core. I think, and again, it comes down to roster building and how the 49ers are built versus how the Rams are built. And like with the Rams, there's always and I know that every team has this, including the Niners. There's always this okay, we have a run game, but it's going to be the hot hand. When anyone asks me hey, should I draft Cam Akers in fantasy? And I say if you get him at a good value round, am I going to draft Cam Akers? Yes, because I'm a Rams fan that uses an ill-advised homer strategy. But if you can, from a fantasy perspective, if you can get him in the 5th, 6th, or later rounds of your draft, I think that's a solid pickup. But when I see people like myself draft him in the 2nd or 3rd round, the reality is there's going to be some games where he does great for you and other games where Darrell Henderson plays much more snaps and takes carries away from him, and he'll have a solid game. And ever since Todd Gurley left, Sean McVay just seems to have adopted the hot hand running back by committee, and he seems to really like it, and we won a Super Bowl with it.
Though, have you seen, obviously last year people did say that there were some concerns with Cam Akers, his explosiveness. Do you think he gets back to that 100%? Obviously, that Achilles injury, that's tough to come back from. It's a lot worse than an ACL.
Amazingly, right? And that's still modern day medical miracle.
Right.
He was able to come back in such a short amount of time on that Achilles injury. And I think he's going to do a lot better. I think that he played well in the playoffs. He had the one brutal game against the Bucks, but I don't know. I still have confidence in Cam Akers as a star running back. Do I think he's going to have a Derrick Henry or type of year, or Christian McCaffrey when he's healthy type of year? I don't think that, just because of the way the Rams offense works. However, I'd still take him, to be my starting running back, and I'm excited to see him, and he's going to put some points on the board for the Rams.
Yeah, that's true. And honestly, what I will say with that is Cam Akers, yeah, there's concerns with him, but there also are concerns with Elijah Mitchell, our
Yeah,
number one running back. He's
yeah,
out right now with an injury. I think depth for sure with the 49ers. I think we have a really good job at developing and getting guys off the streets. You probably have heard of him because there's a lot of buzz around the 49ers community media about this running back, Jordan Mason.
yeah.
He's really good. I just think like the thing that really, and I don't know if you think the same way, but I see how the 49ers are so good at developing sixth round picks. Elijah Mitchell with a sixth round pick. And then I see us drafting almost like for the past 2 years, a third round pick, like TDP, Ty Davis Price, great. But Trey Sermon, not great. So like, why do we have to get these third round picks when we do just as good of a job at drafting sixth or seventh round picks? I don't know. It definitely intrigues me.
The joys of drafting, right?
Yeah, for sure. Grandizer says Ben from the Camper Report reminds me of super cool Lions content creator Anthony Ryder.
Oh,
Young
yeah,
and professional. Thank you so much. I
yeah,
will look him up for sure.
yeah. He right or wrong, he's great. Yeah,
Yeah. 49ers find RB gems in lower rounds, undrafted free agent. Trey Sermon is in the wrong system. Yeah, I've heard that. I think Sermon, yeah, he's more. I think with the Trey Lance thing, I think it's going to change a little bit. But yeah, I don't know exactly know what that pick was. I think we could have spent that pick any other way, and I wasn't too happy about that. And then I love Cam Akers, but he has been so. He needs to have a huge year. I have way higher expectations of him. Yeah. Jordan
you're right.
Mason. Yeah. Jordan Mason looked better than Tyrion David Price. Yeah, it's close. I mean, we'll have to see more. The thing in these preseason games is it's really tough to evaluate people when you're going against backups and stuff like that. So yeah, Jordan Mason has looked slightly better, but it's about the same. And then he says, "Well, silly fun guy. I am nervous for Cam Akers when we versus the Cardinals. I think we will be hungry after the hit on Buda Baker. Yeah. Okay, so let's get to the D line. What is your analysis on this? Who is the better the better D line here? Obviously, yeah. But both teams this is their strength on the team.
Yeah, these are both teams that can get after the quarterback, right?
Yeah.
And you're gonna have to excuse my very much my love for Aaron Donald and bias here is I have had the pure joy and pleasure of watching every game of Aaron Donald's career.
Right. Oh, okay.
And I have gotten to see him just take over games from the defensive tackle position, especially like there's so many, how like people always talk about like their quarterback and they remember their quarterback, having that game winning drive.
Right.
I've seen Aaron Donald do what he's done in the Super Bowl so many times where we need the stop and just they could put 3 linemen on him and he finds a way to push them back or like get between them or through them. And he finds a way to get after the quarterback, either sacking them or putting the pressure on them to make an ill-advised throw. And I think that the both teams have phenomenal D lines. Yeah. What I give credit to the Rams for is they have players that have maybe a bit better of rotation. Like we have Aaron Donald as our star. We obviously have Leonard Floyd on there as well. But like I think of guys like EJ Gaines, who's come along really well, or Tremaine Ingram. And I just think in terms of like rotational players, the Rams do have a depth there. And it's because any players that we've drafted or signed in recent years, most of them are still with the team, right? Like,
yeah. I think like you guys lost Day. That could be big.
Well, he didn't play that much last year.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, he was injured most of the season.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah,
so I think run stopping wise, you guys might, because that was always a big concern, like injury wise, inside Kinlaw, Ridgeway, Hassan Ridgeway. But both of those guys kind of like Ridgeway for the Eagles had a lot of injuries. Kinlaw, though, has looked good in the preseason, but can he stay healthy? We have no idea. He's had a lot of surgery so far in his tenure with the 49ers. So that's a big question mark for this team. But as well, like I think defensive end wise, I think the 49ers are a lot better. They just have a deep like Nick Bosa, Amenahue, Toure, and Toure's like a kind of a underrated player for them, but he did have 6 sacks one season for the Colts. We have what's his name? We have
Ebicon still there?
Ebicom. Yep, because he used to be for you guys. So I think defensive end wise, you guys are absolutely better. I think in the middle, maybe not. I think it's about the same because we've always had a big question mark. Now, Eric Armstead is a very solid defensive tackle. I think he's getting paid a little too much, but that's neither here nor there. I would have to say 49ers on this one, even though Aaron Donald can wreck games, but so can Nick Bosa. They two truly amazing guys, I believe, on that defensive line. So it's going to be interesting. Both defenses are really good, though. So
and he may not be on the defensive line, but the Rams signing of Bobby Wagner might be even bigger than our signing of Allen Robinson this year.
Well, and run stopping wise, yeah, that's why I think that the linebackers. And speaking of linebackers, and you obviously had Bobby Wagner on there. Let's get to linebackers though. Who has the better core? 49ers, and this was an interesting one because 49ers and Rams both really, they both have really good cores, I believe. Yeah. So who's better?
I'm gonna give the edge to the Niners here, but with the caveat of the Rams have the potential to change that this year. I need to see Bobby Wagner and Ernest Jones this year because Ernest Jones played great as a rookie for the Rams last year. You know, he and I think he has all the potential in the world. Getting Bobby Wagner was huge. I still need to see him in this Rams defense. All reports have said that he's going to be great. He's going to be calling the plays for the Rams on defense. And I've said this before, the Rams have always kind of been a team that you can run on. That's kind of been their MO in the Sean McVay era.
Yeah.
So I'm really looking forward to seeing, how he changes this defense for the Rams because he's a player that does change the defense. Leonard Floyd, though, solid. I like him. I think the main reason I give it the edge to the Niners there is Warner.
Yeah, Warner. Yeah. I would say, I don't know. I have to say here, I mean, I think your team's really good. I think 49ers, though, have a very good ability to develop linebackers. I look at somebody like Demetrius Flannigan-Foles, which I think is on the up, and he's had a really good preseason, really good camp. I think you have to I think D'Amico Ryans was a linebackers coach. So that's, I think, partly the reason why he's really good at scouting them. I think he was a former linebacker himself. So yeah, I think, yeah, I just think, man, I think they're about the same because Leonard Floyd and Bobby Wagner are a hell of a tandem. And I don't know if Azeez Al-Shaair and Dre Greenlaw, like they both have had injury issues. They're both solid at times. And then Fred Warner. So maybe I would have to probably say about the same right here because I think you guys definitely have 2 stars there in the middle. I think Bobby Wagner, he says, let's see, somebody said Fred Warner versus Bobby Wagner. At this point, I don't know. I think, what would you say? This is really hard.
I have to plead the fifth here and say I have to wait and see.
Yeah.
We haven't seen Bobby Wagner in anything but a Pete Carroll defense for years, like his whole NFL career. So I'm really curious to see what he looks like. I think Raheem Morris and him have an amazing rapport. We've seen them joking around with each other at camp, and I think they're on the same page in how to run this defense. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. Does Ben like the Drake Jackson pick? That's a good point because I was going to quickly, I forgot about the defensive line. I forgot to mention him. That's another really, really good defensive end. He's at a great camp as well as preseason. He's going to be a wrecker on the edge. And the thing that gets me so excited is Nick Bosa, and it's the same with Aaron Donald, but Nick Bosa on one edge, taking the double teams. And you saw in Nick Bosa's rookie year, you had DeForest Buckner and D Ford sometimes. They were both taking the double teams, and then you had Nick Bosa having 9 sacks in his rookie year because he had single team. He was being one-on-one the whole game. So it's going to be so exciting to see the other side eat while Nick Bosa gets to double teamed, because Drake Jackson, really good. He has created havoc so far in the preseason. So I'm excited to see that as well. Agreed, Ben, better than 90% of the adult streamers. Tribe, for sure. You are first one, like you and Grandizer and the let's see, Silly Fungi, first time in the stream, first time I've seen you, so shout out to you guys. Thank you for coming in. Who has the better receiving? Oh, okay, we already covered that. And then covered that. Ernest Jones will break out this season. He and B-Wags will ball out and make linebackers the shining part of the Rams defense. A shining part of the Rams defense.
Agreed. And Dominic, we appreciate you coming in short here. And yeah, we had an in-depth discussion about that earlier in the stream. So if you want to go check that out. Yeah, totally. So do we have, okay, this is the last topic of the day before we get you out of here. What is one concern that you have for the Rams team and one bright spot? Obviously, I want to know a scouting report on this team because I do cover a lot of the 49ers. I do hear a lot of 49ers biasness, a lot of 49ers writers, people that cover the team. So I want to see I want to see a scouting report a little bit. What is one concern that you have for the Rams and one bright spot that the 49ers fans can look towards? Yeah. So I'm not going to say well, first off, I have to address this because Grandizer said it in the chat. If you are not subscribed to Ben, you need to make sure you are subscribed to the Camper Report.
Thank you.
This guy is awesome. I have a rule that I never agree to a collab or invite anyone on a collab until I've checked out their material myself. And yeah, huge supporter of what you do at the Camper Report, Ben.
Thank you.
Anyone watching, make sure you subscribe to the Camper Report.
Yeah, thank you. Same here.
Thank you. As for this concern about the Rams, there's a lot of excitement about the Rams. The cliche answer is injury, but the reality is that's every team's biggest concern is injuries. So
especially 49ers.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I'm going to say this. My biggest concern about the Rams is in these games that we have, these big games coming up against really good teams in the NFC West, the AFC West. We have some other, the showdown with the Bills coming up. We have, lots of big games coming up. My biggest concern is our players that didn't make the Super Bowl with us last year who have to come in and contribute due to injury or something like that.
Yeah.
I do believe in the depth of this team, and I know that there's this take in the mainstream media that the Rams don't have depth. I disagree with that. I think they are one of the best teams at drafting in recent years.
True.
This is a stat I say all the time because it's amazing. Between the year 2018 and 2021, the Rams drafted 28 players. 21 of them are still with the team in some capacity, either starting or in a rotational player way, which is just phenomenal. And so I think my biggest concern would be for those players that have to come in and perform at their best when their best is required, as Sean McVay would say. So my concern would be there. I think in terms of bright spots, there's a lot to like about this team. This team is going to win some games, whether people like it or not. They're not a team that's about to go on a Super Bowl hangover and miss the playoffs or something like that.
Yeah.
I like when you look at this team's camp. Sometimes it seems like they'd act like they didn't even win the Super Bowl last year. They're so focused on getting back to there. And I would say that in terms of bright spot, I'm really looking forward to this secondary. We traded to get Troy Hill during the draft, who just, again, amazing. When he played with the Rams, he was with us the year that we had the top secondary in the league.
Oh, okay.
And like that was a huge pickup for us. Robert Rochelle, I'm expecting to take leaps forward. David Long has played in some big games and made some clutch plays, hoping he, continues to take a step forward. We drafted a whole whackload of secondary players in Kobe Durant and Darian Kendricks, and then Quentin Lake as well. And there's some question marks with them, but both those two corners in Kendricks and I get tongue tied so much. Sorry, but anyway, both those rookie corners have been performing well at camp, and they'll get some playing time this year for sure. So I'm excited about that. I see Silly Fun Guy talking about the safety position. I'm optimistic with Jordan Fuller coming back from injury, but that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah, yeah. A veteran. They do. Yeah. Wait. Who's the vegan?
No, I think he meant when there was a veteran.
But veteran. Okay. Grandizer says, so thank you for that information. Next time, cover the 49ers versus Rams, O-line, tight end, cornerback, safety. Yeah, I just think, thank you for the suggestion. I think that's definitely for next time, but we have to let him go because he's on the East. Well, he's in Toronto. That's crazy. So that, yeah, East Coast. Yeah. So everyone, this has been a lot of fun. Go subscribe if you haven't already to Payo Time. And if you want Rams news, whatever, he covers also other NFL teams as well on his episodes. Moof. So if you want just a great content creator there, go subscribe to Payo Time, everyone. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already. No Border Sports just coming in now. Shout out to you. He is a great YouTuber as well. What up, gentlemen? So, yeah, but if you haven't already, go like and subscribe. And we'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for coming on, Payo.
Anytime. Thanks. Peace out, everybody.
Yeah, we'll see you guys. Have a good rest of your evening, and I'll probably see you guys on Sunday. So, goodbye.